Why now? Why do you believe, coming back around, it's not the first time you run it for the mayor. Why you?
Right now, Oakland is broken. We are in need of immediate repair. You ask any of Oakland residents, and they will give you a laundry list of the flaws, what's going on from public safety to homelessness to lack of opportunities to just potholes and illegal dumping. And if we don't get on top of our issues with the urgency that they demand, then we're going to continue losing residents, losing revenues, businesses, driving us closer to bankruptcy. And I love Oakland. I know how amazing this place is. That's why my wife Erica and I are raising our kids here. And I'm not ready to give up. So stepping up once again to help lead our city through its current challenges.
You've been in the building before, so what makes you an asset, not a liability?
I am the most qualified candidate in this race because of my experience at the city level, because I am unencumbered from the political machine, a political outsider. I served a term on the council. I know what's working well, what's not, and how to fix it. Yet I haven't been entrenched in the political establishment to where I'm unable to do what I know is right for our city. That's absolutely critical for what's needed to move forward, especially at this time. There are a lot of entrenched interests who want things to stay the same. They benefit from the dysfunction, the mismanagement, the corruption. I am running to stop that, to make sure that Oakland actually delivers on its promises to its residents.
So how do you do that? You've got city staff not fully back, right? You've got unions very entrenched in there. You've got people coming in as financial consultants that have ties to unions. There is a lot going on even behind the scenes that a lot of people don't even know about.
Absolutely. And that is why it's important to have somebody with city experience, with a connection to community on the ground, anchored to what is needed versus just what's being advocated or lobbied for inside of City Hall. And so, how do we do that? First of all, we have to be singularly focused on outcomes and results. That's why I have pushed for department level performance management so that we can create the transparency, the accountability that is required. So residents see what we're doing with their tax dollars, their hard earned tax dollars that they're paying, so that we can demonstrate that we are making progress on our sort of toughest challenges. And if we're not, we're held accountable and we're required to course correct. Standards of how you operate and deliver for those that you're called on to serve.
So it sounds like you are more interested in the business approach and kind of using government, which instead of a lofty kind of like, well, I want to have everybody come together, but at the same time, the nitty gritty and just the running of government is not necessarily fun to discuss, or infrastructure is not fun, but is it more important than ever before to go into the nitty gritty details to make a difference?
It is absolutely more important now when we're at this point of crisis to understand the details of our city. If you don't understand what's happening, the nuances, and how to maneuver within that in order to drive results, we are going to continue to see the same problems time and time again and not make any progress. And so, yes, absolutely critical. It's not something that you can be, simply briefed on when you fly in from, we'll just say DC or the 50,000 foot level. It's something that you have to understand, be able to hold people accountable and navigate. And that's something that I'm uniquely prepared to do given my experience on the ground and actually navigating the budget process, helping to make progress on public safety where we have, reduced the amount of violent crimes in my district over my tenure when the rest of the city, it was increasing.
Let's talk about public safety. We had the tragedy of a murder of a 15-year-old. The police chief, the fire department. We put back in, the city put back in some of the fire stations that were awfully. So funding was, but what about the police department? How do we get back into numbers? How do we get police cars that could or on a lot? Like, what do we do about all that?
Look, we have to prioritize public safety in not just words, but actually deeds, decisions, and budget allocations. I have a plan to increase the police force to 800 officers within 3 years. 3 academies per year over that time. That my primary opponent in this race is simply committing to implementing Measure NN, a tax measure that the voters approved on, and everyone, regardless, is going to have to implement because that's the law right now. It's the bare minimum. I'm not going to just settle for the bare minimum when it comes to keeping our community safe, making sure that our kids are able to get to school safely, that our business owners can keep their businesses open without being fear of someone breaking in and taking their hard-earned money.
Or shooting someone for a backpack.
Absolutely. Lives and livelihoods are at stake.
What about talking to the chief? Have you talked to the chief? Do you have a relationship?
I have talked to the chief, and I am pleased with how he's operating now. I also have the support of former Chief Loren Armstrong, who has endorsed my campaign. And so there are a number of public safety professionals that I engaged with in developing my public safety plan. And I will continue to lean on and build those relationships as we implement to make sure that we, avoid the pitfalls that we've seen in the past and actually get through this public safety crisis.
I have talked to the chief, and I am pleased with how he's operating now. I also have the support of former Chief Loren Armstrong, who has endorsed my campaign. And so there are a number of public safety professionals that I am engaged with in developing my public safety plan. And I will continue to lean on and build those relationships as we implement to make sure that we, avoid the pitfalls that we've seen in the past and actually get through this public safety crisis.
As far as pitfalls are concerned, what about as far as, the budget it's unclear how big it is. We get conflicting numbers. How do you dive into that?
Yes.
Well, we have to acknowledge that at the root of what's going on with our budget is mismanagement, corruption, and a basic dysfunction where elected officials, those in charge of leading, have avoided making the hard but necessary choices to put us on a better trajectory. And so, number one, we have to be upfront and honest with our residents, with Oaklanders, as to where we are. So being fully transparent, not simply telling folks what they want to hear or what will get us social media likes. I'm committed to making sure that we tell the hard truths so that we can make the hard and necessary decisions and actually move away from this brink of fiscal insolvency and bankruptcy that we've been flirting with.
What do we do about homelessness? There have been some shelters kind of in the media eye in the past couple of weeks about some closures, lack of payments. If you go down some of the city streets, it's incredibly sad, incredibly disheartening.
It is painful to see our residents, our neighbors, family members on the streets. We cannot accept that as normal, and we must acknowledge that it is not compassionate, nor is it progressive to allow these conditions to fester within our city. While on the council, I brought forward the encampment management policy and it secured full adoption, unanimous adoption by the council for how we would ensure health, safety, and dignity in and around these encampments, identifying that there are some high sensitivity areas where we will not allow encampments to persist, in front of schools, in front of businesses, in our parks, along major thoroughfares, waterways, while there are some lower sensitivity areas that will require us to allow the encampments to persist until we can effectively move people to stable housing. In those areas, we have to make sure that we are, providing the right protections, the standards, quality of living, such that we don't have 30 to 40% of the calls going into a fire station going to addressing issues at encampments.
What about as far as you've got the endorsement of and he made the comment, that you were honest and that we have to have more transparency in government and so forth. How do you think that helps having such an endorsement? There has been a lot of talk about some of the ads that have been out there, misleading information. Unpack that for me.
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, deep respect and appreciation for Mayor Mahan's endorsement. His support means a lot, especially considering that he is actually making meaningful progress on the issues that matter most to his residents. And that's what's driving me forward as a third generation Oaklander, raising fourth generation Oaklanders here, deeply invested in this city and its future, all residents. I'm committed to actually solving these problems, these tough problems, as opposed to simply playing politics, business as usual in City Hall. It hasn't served us, and it's not going to serve us and actually get us through these issues. So being focused there. As far as the transparency, absolutely focused on radical transparency. That's why I'm focused on regular reporting, dashboard reporting of how we're performing within each department as a city as a whole. That's why I'm focused on, opening up the budget development process, opening up other decisions so that Oaklanders aren't seeing the city as a black box, that they're not sure how things are going to move forward. That's why I'm focused on our building and planning department, implementing a shot clock where we, as a city, commit to completing our work in a certain period of time. And if we don't do so, then residents, business owners, developers are able to move forward, creating the value that they need, as opposed to simply waiting for years to get through a building and planning process when we've got residents to house, we've got economy to build and uplift, and we've got residents to support as they're improving their own quality of life.
You had a couple of debates. Then there was the whole issue with the KQED debate. Now you have Ask Me Anything. Tell me about those Ask Me Anything. Can we ask you anything? Can Oaklanders ask you anything at these meetings?
Absolutely. That is the intent. Connected leadership, connected to the ground and open for the conversations, the tough, difficult questions, as well as the more fun, light ones. It's all about that connection to community, because without it, if you're simply operating in the ivory tower, you're not going to be able to best serve our residents. And frankly, I bring that perspective because I am not a part of the political establishment like my primary opponent, who's been in the political world for 50 years. Coming in, I have been shocked by the level of the corruption, the mismanagement, just the dysfunction that's happening. And we've got to address that head on. Oh, absolutely. I held a press conference maybe 6 weeks ago now, stating my intent to make sure that City Hall is open for business, meaning that our staff will come back at least 4 days a week, meaning that during normal business hours, the doors of City Hall will be open. Residents will no longer come and see a sign on the door that says, please schedule an appointment or, come back later.
What about as far as, are you going to bring back city staff? I mean, to stabilize, does that mean in person? I mean, that is a shell of a city hall, right? Anything else you think that is pertinent for the people to understand? The clock is ticking. The election is April 15th. There are a lot of big responsibilities. It's a big job. But what I hear you say time and time again is that this really boils down to leadership, expertise, leadership, transparency. I mean, these are big shoes, big responsibilities.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. It boils down to leadership. Leadership sets the course. And we in Oakland, given the urgency of our situation, given the complexity of our issues, we need a leader who is able to hit the ground running, has experience operating at the city level, knows where the pitfalls or roadblocks are in order to navigate that. Also, one who's unencumbered by the political establishment, that is unwilling to allow certain decisions to be made, even if they are in the best interest of Oaklanders and Oakland's future. Also, someone who has concrete plans. I have specific plans in these priority areas, as is detailed in my website, and very focused on driving outcomes, driving results in a transparent way. That's the leadership that we need to get us through these current challenges. And simply, continuing business as usual, staying a part of just the activity that doesn't deliver real results, that's not going to get us there. And we're going to see ourselves worse off if that is the path we go down.
And also vague ideas,
Yes.
vagueness.
We cannot save this city at the 50,000 foot level. We've got to get in, dig in. We've got to roll up our sleeves. That's what I have been doing, and that's what I look forward to continue to do as Oakland's mayor.